Hello, welcome to episode 73 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Freeman. I'm a perseverance coach and a professional speaker who ironically has a speech impediment. And today I'm absolutely thrilled to talk to an amazing person who not only exemplifies resilience but exemplifies kindness. So, without further ado, why do I always say further ado? It sounds so archaic, but I gravitate towards it for some reason. So how about changing it right now? Right now, let's get to it. Except not that one. Right now, let's get to it!
Today's guest, Daniel Hall.
Hey, welcome back. Let me tell you a bit about Daniel Hall's amazing story. Daniel Hall's story is one of going from struggle as a youth to being an inspiring, resilient dad, software engineer, and mentor to foster parents. Daniel grew up in foster care from ages 2 to 5 and was beaten, verbally abused, and told he wouldn't amount to anything. Up until about 15 years ago, he didn't care much about anyone or anything. He was eventually saved by the Hall family and his wife Tina. Daniel has had a long career as a top-level software engineer and is a passionate advocate for fostering and adoption. Together with Tina, he has 6 adopted special needs children, and he says they have been and continue to be his biggest teachers. Please help me welcome Daniel Hall.
Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. And Jason, I have to tell you, if I could find a hero to look up to, it would be you for my children or our children. It would be you, my friend, because you are not only awkwardly awesome, but you have overcome so much in your life, and you're just an amazing soul, my friend.
Well, wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And this so exemplifies who you are, Dan. You start off the show by giving me kindness. And you strongly believe in offering kindness. Which is beautiful. Were you always naturally predisposed to that, or is being kind something that you've learned over time?
Well, it's definitely something that has been taught to me by not only the Halls, but, my wife and children over these past 15 years. They have certainly been my biggest teachers in life, because the introduction that you did was, up until about 15, 16 years ago, I honestly, it's not that I really didn't care about anybody, or I mentally, because of the trauma, from age 2 to 5, I honestly didn't know how to process those types of feelings. Like if somebody died, I could have cared less because I didn't know how to process grief or know how to process or even know what to think. I just didn't have that capacity inside me to do that. And now when I see, people struggling or see, our children struggling, it gets me emotional. It's like they have taught me how to feel, how to have emotions, and taught me, as my wife would say, to listen with more than just my ears. So it's definitely something that's been taught to me by my family.
Wow. Wow. So I mean, this is such a crucial point. Like we think of you and your wife traditionally as foster parents of special needs children, as like, oh, you're giving to your kids, you're giving to your kids, you're giving to your kids. And yes, but it sounds like it's very much reciprocal, like your kids give to you.
They do. They most certainly do. Um, it's humbling. It's humbling because it's not a, when we first started fostering and adopting, I was always just like, oh my gosh, this is going to take so long, and, you know, staying up with the kids is going to take so long, or it's going to interrupt your time here and interrupt your time that you used to have. It took me years to feel that with our kids, and snuggle times now are with dad. I take all that in just because that has been the transformer in my life of just, not with our older ones that are teenagers and into their 20s now, but we have a 9 and a 6-year old that just, they need that, and our 11-year old still wants a little bit of that quality time right before they go to bed, just to tuck them in and tell them that
Mm,
they don't have to worry about what went on. Could have a really bad day, and they know that when they lay their heads down,
mm,
that tomorrow's a new day, and we don't dwell on the negative. We always move forward, get up, and we're all fresh, ready to go. And it is that easy when you're in a mindset that, pick your battles, and some battles are just not worth it. And it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal that, if you still have kids that may wet the bed, or, there's so many positives you can look at from that whole situation. Like, oh, you took care of your stuff, or you did this, you got everything together, you did an awesome job. Why dwell on the fact and get mad that, somebody that can't control their bodily functions wet the bed? It's that type of stuff that's just not worth it, because they can't process that side of it. They can process, however, the positives. And yeah, my wife Tina has this amazing
mm.
way of reaching into your soul and finding and capitalizing on those positives. I'll be quiet now and let you talk here, Jason.
Our friend, wonderful friend Nancy Deborah is
Nancy.
with us.
Hi, Nancy.
Thanks so much for being here, Nancy. So, and Nancy said that is such a valuable lesson for us all because for all of us, because how often in our own lives as individuals do we we might do 70 good things in a day, but we do one thing that's not right, and what do we so often gravitate towards?
The negative. And that's what people do. I mean, that's human nature. Um, and we flip the negative around. Not always. There's sometimes where we do have to dwell on the negative, especially if it's a safety issue, and it's that type of concern, or they're hurting each other. Then we have to kind of reinforce that over time. So it does mean that you have to dwell on it a little bit, and keep reinforcing those bad behaviors. But things like just somebody's tired, and they're hangry, and they have behaviors because of that. You can't really blame them. It's up to us as parents to make sure that we're setting them up for success and not letting them be on the technology for hours on end during the day just because we want our time back. So yeah. It's not always rainbows and unicorns, as they say.
But Brian from Brian's also here, and
Love you, brother. Love you both. Two. I can't do it. There we go. Turn them.
and Robert Murray is
Hi,
here.
Robert. Great to see you, my friend.
So one of the things that inspires me so much about your story is what you're talking about, what you've talked about in the last 5 minutes about dwelling on the positives and only covering the negatives when it's a must situation. This isn't at all what you learned early in life. Not is the exact opposite, in fact. So will you walk us through a little bit how your life began to transform from age 5 to the present?
Sure.
First of all, what happened at age 5?
Well, from age 2 to 5, my two brothers and I were put into a foster home, which was very abusive. We were often beaten, tied down. We would be locked in a room, and sometimes we would have food set out, and they would unlock the room, and we would have to go steal food. And then we would get in trouble for stealing the food, even though that we had been hungry the entire day. But we were always set up to fail. So the trust level in that kind of upbringing wasn't there. And if you look at the factors for most of your inmates in the penal system, they have what's called reactive attachment disorder, which is like medium to severe reactive attachment disorder. The lack of empathy, the lack of cause and effect thinking, and the lack of trust. And we were set up to fail right out of the gate in that foster home. And then the Halls showed up when I was 5 years old. And
can you describe that day a little bit when the Halls showed up?
I think you like this story a lot. So they showed up, and I wanted out of there really bad. And so I whipped it out and I peed on the wall. And Maggie Hall thought I must have needed the most help because I was doing that. And they came back the next day. And the social worker at the time actually became a senator in Vermont. Alice Nitka. She was a really great senator in Vermont. And I connected back and was able to talk to her a few years back, and just to thank her for, placing with the Halls. But they came in the next day. I was out of there and living with the Halls I would live there for 2 years. and they would adopt me when I was 7 years old. And if you hear all the chaos right now and loud noises, it's going to be kids going around and it gets loud. So, and I will not apologize for the noise.
I mean, it's wonderful for noise because this is your family.
Yes, it is. Absolutely is.
What would you read this from Brian?
That's great. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
So on that day, on the first day, and I hadn't heard that story before this moment, but on that first day, and this is what kindness does. This is what kindness does on that first day. What was Mrs. Hall's first name?
Maggie.
Oh, Maggie, like
Yeah.
you just said.
Yeah.
Maggie came in and you did that, but instead of being punitive about it and saying I'm not taking that kid, she focused on the positive of you needing help and needing love.
Mm-hmm. My wife, Tina, is so much like my mom. My mom, Maggie, had this amazing way of just finding the best parts of you and capitalizing on the best parts of you. And my dad was more of the disciplinarian, and my mom was the, you can do better, but do it this way. And there was just such an incredible balance between my mom and dad. I needed both that structure and the understanding and the push in the positive direction. And together they both gave me that at the right times, Jason.
And part of this beginning at age 8 was they started exposing you to software design, right?
Yep. To writing software. You're absolutely right. It was in Castleton, Vermont, and my mom would drop me off at the college library, which had a computer center there, and people could go into the computer center from the community and use their computers. In Vermont, there was a company called Digital Equipment Corporation that had created these great big huge printer terminals that you could type on, and it spit out when you wrote your programs, it spit out this paper that was light green, dark green. It's called green bar paper. I would come home with these great big reams of green bar paper and show them to my mom, and she would sit there and pour it off her butt and just praise me for the things that I had done and my accomplishments. So before that, it was, you're nothing but a piece of crap and you're not going to amount to anything in life, to, oh my gosh, she is telling me that I'm doing a great job. And that became more of an addiction for me because I wanted to hear that constant positive reinforcement. So maybe it turned into a little bit of an addiction of wanting to just keep hearing that and doing greater and greater things. But that's human nature at the same time. And
we love to be praised as humans.
It was almost intoxicating for me at that age. And by the time I was 13, I was showing college kids, I was helping them with their COBOL and their Pascal programs. And these were like senior level seniors at the college, juniors and seniors that needed help. They didn't understand the language. Some of them were just trying to get by. So I would help them with their programming.
Was that a bit of a heady experience helping the older?
I think that's where I got a little bit of humility. I could have been like, you need to do it like this and you need to do it like that. It really taught me that part of it. I was more kind of a skittish, afraid, but I also had a little bit of an ego because I knew exactly what was going on. And sometimes I would interrupt them. No, you can't put that here and you can't put that there. So it was a great way for me to kind of balance out that whole, just working with other people.
So through that you learned a lot about teamwork, huh?
A little bit. Because that would plague me. Being a loner, so to speak, and a software developer would plague me throughout my career. I would only gravitate towards jobs where I was the only developer because I didn't
Mm,
want to have to deal with the
mm,
competition.
mm.
And I didn't want to have to deal with somebody saying it can't be done. It's somebody else challenging that. I would steer away from that negative aspect of it. But as I got further along in my career, I couldn't avoid that. But it was actually good for me to be in those situations where I learned to find the right jobs that were the right fit for me and not the right fit for a company. If that makes sense.
So you started to become selective about
Mm-hmm.
who you worked with and if it was a good combination. And
Yeah. Yep.
so going back to age 8, what originally fascinated? I beyond wanting to get affirmation, what fascinated you about looking at these green sheets? For me in my life, it sounds tremendous. It just we people like different things, and I wouldn't have enjoyed that, but it drew you in. What fascinated you about it?
Well, I could write games. I could write games. I could do things that other people around me weren't doing. So it felt like I was, somewhat of my own celebrity at the time. And, they weren't games of any magnitude, but they're games that I wrote that just were cool. Like, I saw asteroids for the first time. I wrote my own little asteroids game on a Commodore VIC-20,
Wow.
and just learning the code by myself and hours upon hours in my room. I would get up in the morning, turn on my Commodore VIC-20, this great big huge TV that was in my room. So there was my bed, my TV, and the computer, and not very much other room in that bedroom. And I was a loner, and that would be my escape, and that just, I was happy. And you and I were talking before the show, and I think you were wondering, writing code, how can you be happy with that? It's an escape. It's something that I absolutely love doing. And it's so relaxing for me. Other people, it's reading a book or, going out and tinkering in their shop. But for me, it's solving those problems because my mom showed up for me and she showed me that if I could help people solve problems, I would be happy. And I know everything that I write is making people happy because I'm not doing something that's destructive. I'm I'm putting more positive back into the world.
So, so often when we go to solve problems, if something doesn't work our way right right away, we start getting tense. I guess I'm speaking for myself. We start getting tense and like I'll never figure it out, and going off on that train. What's your strategy in terms of how do you come to a problem again and again until you solve it?
I walk away.
You walk away.
I walk away. Um, I walk away and come back to it because I know I'll figure it out, but I just have that such drive and tenacity to want to figure it out and to. I used to take things apart when I was younger to see how they ran. I like to tinker. And part of that tinkering comes the drive of just getting to the point where you have that aha moment. I could be asleep and I would dream code. I still do sometimes, but now it's more of, oh my gosh, I got to get a good night's sleep. Mama's on the phone. You're going to have to hold 1 second.
Okay.
Hey, honey, can I call you back?
Hello?
Can I call you back, sweetheart?
Yeah, I was Parker. I'm on
Okay, love you.
Okay.
Bye. Yeah, it's just that drive. We can have the most crappiest day. I could be having a bad day. Anybody could be having a bad day in the house. And I know that coming to work and doing what I absolutely love to do every day is my balance. It is my equalizer of my brain. And I have the capacity to exercise. It sounds like a demon. Exercise the demons out of my brain, because that's literally what I'm doing, because I have the left and the right side balanced out with the creative that I do with my videos and graphic design, but I also have the analytical side, which really helps me keep my brain in check.
So programming kind of is a complete activity for you.
Yes, it definitely completes me. It certainly does.
Well, no. What would you say for someone listening who hasn't found that activity for themselves yet, that balances them out, that helps them feel good when they're having a bad day?
And you hit the nail on the head. You just answered that question, Jason. It's finding those things that when you are having a bad day, it's finding those things that balance you out and pull you back into, that are feel good moments for you. It's really all about the way things make you feel. And that's so different for everybody else. Some people, it takes a lifetime to find out what that is. And for others, it changes on a daily basis. So it's not really an easy question to answer. It's all about, and for me, surrounding myself with people that support me. I guess that's really the key there, is finding people. If you can't find that one thing, then surround yourself with people that at least support you and support what you're doing, that make you feel like you're doing some good in the world, or you are a better person and you're completely different than the way you want to feel when you're in that negative funk.
People who will see the best in you even when you don't see the best in yourself.
Couldn't have said it any better. You're right. That's what leadership is all about, is helping people to see themselves in a brighter light than what they normally would. You're absolutely right. And that's what our children do for us. They make us look inside of ourselves, and we have to do our self-check-ins. I'm not perfect by any stretch. I don't even know what perfect looks like. I really don't. But when one of our kids comes to me and they say, Daddy, I got a new picture for the wall. That's priceless. I mean, that tells me I'm doing something right, or we're doing something right with our children. Or when our youngest is 6, she could throw the screamer of all screamers. She's probably the best one that throws a screamer. And she'll take, and I think I have one right here. She'll take, her apology is to do this. She'll come to you and say, Dad, I'm really sorry. And she'll draw you a picture. She's learned to take time out of her life to make it about us. And I tell that to people all the time. I message people, thank you so much for taking time out of your life to make it about me. Because
what a nice thing.
It reminds me of my mom. My mom and my dad took their time out of their life to raise me and to help make me the man I am today. And when my daughter shows up and she gives me this, that's priceless. So I don't just message that to people, as a way of satisfying whatever. It's truly heartfelt. I truly appreciate people taking time, because they never get that time back in life. My mom and dad are both passed. They're never going to get that time back. My daughter's never going to get this time back. And she made it about me. You can't put a price tag on that. And people just forget that. They forget it. And they take advantage of other people.
Another thing we so often forget is how powerful we are. It gives me goosebumps that your parents took you in and taught you all this, and now you've rippled it out into loving your kids, and then they ripple it out by bringing it back to you. It's all such a big kindness really can connect us on a very deep level.
It can. And there's just so many times where I connect the dots, like with my mom. And it takes our children to teach me that sometimes. And it's so humbling. It really is.
It's humbling and inspiring. So how did you and your wife meet?
We met on eHarmony. And my Tina and I always joke that she was in her trial period of eHarmony. She had just signed up. And I had paid for my full year. And it was like a week later, I found her, the love of my life. And, she didn't have to pay anything for me. So, but she's just such an amazing soul, Jason. As a few people watching will attest to, she's very camera shy. So if you get to see a glimpse of her on camera, you're lucky.
So tell me a bit about what drew you to this magical person.
She was beautiful. Sorry, she still is beautiful. I don't want to. When I saw her the first time, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell does she want to do with me? I'm like the ugly duckling. And I just, and then we talked and we just clicked and connected. And You know, she says that she fell for me on the first date. Well, she literally did fall. We was Inner Harbor in Baltimore, and we went to the aquarium for our first date, and her leg was lifted up not far enough to get over the chain, and it flipped her right up, and she came down. She took out 2 fingernails, just tore them right off, and so. But she's just was amazing. I'm like, do you want to go home? Do you want to go home? She wants to finish the date. So I always joke with people, our first date involved boots and chains. And then it gets them thinking about, okay, what kind of first date was this? So, yeah, she is just beautiful inside and out, Jason.
Oh, wow. So that's so wonderful. So how does everything you've told me so far tie in with your slogan that you've been lifting up when you drink a drink?
Oh, yeah. Size matters. So when we talk about first, let me say that our children got me that for Christmas 2 years ago. And it was a reminder to me that it's not go big or go home in our house, it's go small or go home. Because if you look at the chapters in my life, it's all those little things along that journey that got me to this moment in time talking with you. Those small little things that get you up that rung in the ladder. None of those grandiose, huge moments can happen without all the little steps to get there. So it's go small or go home. And it's a reminder that size really does matter. Let me share a quick story with you about that. So when my son was 2 years old, I was still trying to process my trauma from, being a little boy. And I would yell and scream at him because I didn't understand why he was yelling and screaming at me. And he was only 2. And Tina turned around to me and said, you need to stop. You need to listen with more than just your ears to what his needs are. The next day, I reeled from that and started learning sign language, ASL. And, by 2 months, he was signing please and thank you and more, more. And it was the first time I could communicate with him, even though he couldn't, talk. And so if you fast forward to last year, my daughter was working in a restaurant and she says, Dad, she comes home from work, Dad, the coolest thing happened to me today. A deaf lady came into the restaurant and nobody could understand her. So I had her write her order down. And my daughter didn't know enough to fully understand what she was signing. So she had the wherewithal to have her write it down. And when my daughter brought it back to the table, she went, thank you. And the lady signed, you're welcome. And it was just a surreal moment of connecting that small step of taking the time to learn sign language. And it just had an impact on her that she was able to communicate. Look, at the end of the day, we all just want to be heard. And she could hear this lady and she could feel that empathy. And it was just a surreal moment for me because it reminded me of where that came from and that chaos that eventually bred success for not only her, but for me as a person and for Tina as well. I mean, we taught it to all of our children, and it's not just me teaching, it's, everybody. And our kids were teaching the younger kids, and So it was reciprocal.
There's a lot of ripple effects going on
Yeah.
in your life. So impact. A friend Tim, a good friend Tim.
Hi, Tim.
My Eric Swanson, who's helped me so much. We love you, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
At the end of the day, we all just want to be heard. Yes, yes. So, we have so much to talk about. What would you say to someone who's still struggling to heal trauma that has happened to them as a kid?
I'm going to answer that with something my mother wrote in my yearbook when I was 17 years old. And it says, Dan, we are very proud that you are our son. You've come such a long way these past couple of years, and you've matured so much. And this is my mom at 17, and I wish I had listened to her then. Remember, you learn more through your mistakes than through your accomplishments. So the people that are trying to feel accepted despite their mistakes, learn from those. Know that you can't change your past and what happened. All you can do is move forward and take the knowledge that you have with you. And all of this was Gabe Leal had me on his show last year, and he asked me his quote question. When the book, the chapters in the book of your life end, how do I want to be remembered? And I really dedicated that to what my parents had taught me. And that's why I read you that. On my epitaph, I wanted to read, here lies a man who learned to reciprocate kindness by failing often. And if you go back to what my mom had put in there, she's basically telling me to learn from my failures. And that was her way of showing up for me, even after she was gone. It's just that reminder is always there. Learn from your failures. Don't dwell on them, but learn from them and keep moving on. Get up. So at the end of the day, when our kids lay their heads down at night, what she put in that yearbook is still there. What's tomorrow, buddy? What's tomorrow? It's a new day, Dad or Mom. It's a new day for what? It's a new day to make it the best day. It's that forgiveness that doesn't matter. We make mistakes every day, but we're not going to dwell on them. We move on the next day, and we hold true to that. We get up and we do the best we can to leave those grudges and those crappy things behind, and we move on. And that's what we want our kids to do. And Parker, who's autistic, he's just an amazing soul. He'll tell the other kids, let's just move on. And it's just amazing to hear. He is already processing, he knows it's not worth it. Let's just move on.
How many of us spend so much energy dwelling on the mistakes instead of focusing on moving on?
Yeah.
So powerful, and it can be learned. All these skills can be learned. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting. There's just so much to cover. I love how many facets that there are to all of us. And Jenny Gold, who has had us both on her great podcast.
Love you, Jenny. And I missed Brian and Nancy too. I love you guys both. And Tim. Yeah. Absolutely.
This is an amazing community. But Jenny brings up, she says Daniel Dangerfield Hall. So what's that middle name about? Did she just mistype, or what's that all about?
Oh boy. Well, I tell you, I get no respect. It's not easy. I tell you, I got a dog named Egypt. You can tell he leaves pyramids in every room in the house. It ain't easy. So that's kind of where that came from. And that was actually a coping mechanism for me that started at 17 years old. My mom was diagnosed with cancer, and I just needed some positivity in my life. And, I was watching Back to School and all the Rodney Dangerfield stuff. And I just thought it was cool, and it just kind of that whole shenanigans stuck with me. And that's how I got my nickname, Dangerfield.
I love it that it's hard that it came out of a tough time, but I love out of that tough time you learned a way to make yourself and other people smile. Yeah. When you do that, Dangerfield, I just feel myself grinning from ear to ear.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Can you read things in the Dangerfield voice?
I haven't tried, really.
Jenny has something for you.
Jenny, don't make me pull out the bacon because I get no respect. I tell you, it ain't easy.
So you developed this talent during a difficult time for your family. Yeah. What did your mom's journey with cancer teach you about life and about kindness?
That was a tough one. I was a teenager and I could not process the whole losing my mom very well. And it was easier for me to step out of visiting her in the hospital than it was to face reality that I was going to lose the really the pivotal person. My mom and dad are both pivotal people, but it was tough. It was a tough time. It was a tough time. And just so blessed that I found somebody that was so much like my mom to remind me of all the good things that my mom had given to me. So it was a rough time.
It sounds horribly rough, and you learned from it and you move forward. Like you did, like between 2 and 5, that horrible for a kid to experience that, but you learned from it and you moved forward.
Yeah. It was a new day. It's a new life. It's like I got a new lease on life with our family, with Tina and our kids, and just a whole different level of appreciation for my parents. It took me 40 years to appreciate all the things my parents had done for me. And it wasn't until we had those two little girls, 4 and 8, that came into our home when I saw myself through their eyes. And My mom had passed by then, but I called up my dad and I told him, Dad, I'm so sorry that I always thought you were a hard ass on me. And I told him he was my hero. It was the first time I heard my dad really tear up and cry. Yeah.
There's so many aspects. Like, how did the adopting and the fostering, how did you start bringing all this goodness into your life? Or how did you and your wife start bringing all the goodness of these kids and all this life experience? And
how did we start?
Yeah. How did you start?
It was like pulling teeth for Tina, because she asked me, would you ever consider fostering and adopting? And I whipped her around and I said, oh, hell no. I'm not going to parent a child like I was growing up. I don't want any parts of that. So she pushed and pushed and pushed. And respectfully, she did. She helped me understand that I could trust her to help me navigate through my trauma. And
she helped you understand that you could trust her to help you navigate.
Yeah, the first thing that she did was help me rekindle my relationship with my adopted dad. My dad. I won't say my adopted dad, my dad. And, just because of what I told you, I just always thought he was a hard ass. If you got A's and B's, why couldn't you get all A's? It wasn't that he was a hard ass on me. He was just constantly trying to show me that love and show me that structure and show me that, you can push yourself to do better and you don't have to just settle all the time. But at that point, I was looking for the same constructive, positive feedback instead of why couldn't you do better? Why couldn't you do better? That was a trigger back to me to the foster home. But I have such a deep appreciation for what my mom and dad built to get me to where I am in life. Yeah.
What was it like being able to rekindle a relationship with your dad?
It was a huge step into having a conversation with my dad, just about forgiveness and, kind of filling in the gaps of, what really happened. And, me growing up, there's a lot of still unanswered questions that my dad was able to help with. Like being kicked out of kindergarten, because I guess I took that whole, I do remember doing this, but I didn't remember the extent or even know about the extent of it. But I would get up on the tables in kindergarten and I would still pee on the floor. So I got kicked out of kindergarten.
So you would get up high too.
Yep, I get up on the desk and just pee on the floor. And that was the only attention that we got. And my dad said that was a common occurrence. So it was good having those open conversations with my dad about just times that I really wasn't able to fully process. And
as a kid, you just don't have the capacity to understand it.
Yeah. And why you're doing what you're doing. I knew they happened. I just didn't know what the outcomes were because they kind of shielded me from all of that. So, yeah, I mean, it was great to be able to have those talks with my dad. Things still weren't perfect. I know, like I said, I don't even know what perfect is, but it was a great starting point to, as time went on, I think my dad built up that trust. We talk about trust. At the beginning, how it's so easy to people will won't remember what you say or do, but they'll always remember how you make them feel.
Mm-hmm.
Maya Angelou. And I made my parents feel like crap. So that's what my dad had to go on for years. So trying to rekindle that, took a lot of work. And when you ask, Tina was a big, big factor in making all that happen. And she kept on encouraging me to keep going. And she didn't give up. She never gives up. She is relentless. I pity the person that she gets on the phone with arguing about what discount she's going to get, because they're going to lose every single time. My passion is the computers. When she gets $2 or $3 off of something, it's like she won the lottery, Jason. And she'll come to me so excited. I just got $3 off, $3 off. And you go with it, and that's what she loves. So you support it. And when she brings home, all the buys and the steals that she got at the store, make sure you sit down and you let her do her fashion show of showing you all the kids. And that's quality time right there, guys. That is quality time.
So what would you say to parents considering adopting, or not, parents, to a couple considering adopting a fostering, and one of them might be on the fence, or maybe they both are on the fence, but keep coming back to it?
This holds true, and I've trained over 400 inbound foster and adoptive families. I've co-trained with our local social services.
What? How is this not? How did we not ever talk about this? You've trained how many?
Over 400. Over the course of 10 years, over 400 inbound foster and adoptive families.
See my face? Wow, talk about paying it forward. Dude.
It's because I had that experience as a foster child. I saw what that looked like. And I was right in the middle of, we were, Tina and I were right in the middle, in the thick of it when I started training. So we had a lot of knowledge to bring to the table that was not being taught in some of these classes. And I brought the good, the bad, and the ugly of every aspect of that. The good, the bad, and the ugly of being a foster child, being a foster adoptive parent, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. I would not sit there and co-train a class without talking about some of the bad aspects of working with the system. I did not hold back, and I think they appreciated that from me, because I did it respectfully. I didn't go in and, when I was training and bash the system. But here's my recommendation to anybody and any parent. It doesn't matter whether you're fostering adoption. This is going to hold true in every situation. You have to know what your limitations are as a person. That is the key. First and foremost, know what your limitations are. Know what your limitations are as a couple. That is key.
So once you know that, what do you do with the knowledge?
And if you can make that time, if you can take that time to add another dynamic into the mix, that's when you consider being, a resource parent. Would you, if you weren't ready to be a parent, take foster and adopting out of it. If you weren't ready to be a parent, you wouldn't be a parent. I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice, but, I look at people and they say, I don't want to be a parent. I'm like, good for you. Good for you, because you know what your limitations are. That's awesome. And if you don't think that you can put your phone down, or your tech, or your book, or whatever it is that you absolutely love to do, you can't put it down for another person. Good for you. You know what your limitations are. I'm not going to tell you that it's good or bad. I'm going to praise you for knowing what your limitations are. If you can't successfully take on a pet and, be a resource for that pet, then probably don't want to consider being a resource for parents or for children. That it's all really about that. That is the key to success. It is a lot of work, and don't ever feel like you're going to be minimized by the system if you don't take in a child. If you're at your limits, stick to your guns. So there's somebody else that will help that child.
Powerful. Last question. I talk, and you've alluded to this throughout the interview, but I talk about the power of doing our imperfect best. What does doing your imperfect best mean to you?
Wow. Going into a completely blind situation with our family and just showing up and failing miserably because they want my time. So it doesn't matter whether I know what's going on or not going on in a situation for our family. Just roll with it. And, if it's about showing up, there is no, it's perfect. It's perfect just to show up.
It's perfect. Just
whether it's imperfect, whether it's perfect, the fact that you're showing up is, and I love the name of your podcast too, Jason, Awkwardly Awesome, because I'm the dork of the house and I'm the most awkward person in the house. And I love the fact that my kids think I'm awesome. So just being a dork. So maybe that's imperfectly perfect for me. And just showing up for people.
My friend, I so applaud you for what you've chosen to do with your life and how you let the kindness that's been shown to you ripple through your life, and how you learn from your mistakes. And all of it, and then I applaud you for showing up for this hour, because we're going to talk about some stuff that's emotional, and it's an hour of your time, and an hour you could be doing something else, but you believe in what you're doing so much that you're just, well, like, sure, I'm going to show up, of course. So thank you.
And thank you so much, my friend, for taking time out of your life to make it about our family. That's priceless. And thank you to everybody watching and on the live and on the replay for taking time out of your lives too. Very much appreciate it.
Is there a way for people to get a hold of you?
You probably won't find me on Facebook that much. I'm not really a Facebook guy. I check it here and there, looking for messages from Jason Freeman. I mean Jenny Brian, Nancy. It's just some of the cool friends that I have over there. But LinkedIn is really the place to find me.
And just Daniel Hall, any other keywords?
Yeah, Daniel B. Hall. So it's LinkedIn, selfcheckins.com/in/Daniel, B as in Bruce, Hall, Hall.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Jason. Thank you.
Daniel Dangerfield. Thank you.
Hey, I tell you.
Oh my. I say this every week, but every week it's reinforced. Just I love doing this. I love hosting a podcast. I love being inspired by people. Dan has chosen to live an inspiring life, and he's chosen to let things ripple out, and I just so adore that. And I hope whether you're watching this live or you're watching it on replay that you get what you need from Daniel's powerful story, and that you also appreciate what a powerful story you have and how you let your love rip out. Thanks for being you. And if you're inspired or if you think this could help someone, please share it. Thanks a lot. See you next week. See, and